On New Zealand on a Plate this week, we're in Auckland and we'll discover some of the region's best and freshest food producers with top chef Tu Fern. Tu will start his guided tour on an oyster farm in Coromandel, and while he's there he'll come up with 3 ways to bring out the best in the succulent shellfish. Next he'll meet a fishing boat in downtown Auckland and cook fresh fish for his guests at one of the city's finest restaurants. And for dessert, he'll make his own yoghurt and use that to create a perfect panna cotta.
That coconut yogurt is good. It really is good. It's healthy.
Tu Fern is head chef at one of Auckland's best-loved eateries, Harbourside, in the iconic Ferry Building, which has a prime position on the waterfront, in the heart of the CBD. Tu left school at 16 to start work as a kitchen hand and served under some of Auckland's best chefs before rising to the top himself at Harbourside.
I've been at Harbourside as head chef for just over a year now. Look after a team of 15 other chefs, plus the kitchen hands. It's my first real proper head chef role. Challenging at times. Big responsibility. There's a lot to look after, lots to deal with. But I really enjoy the challenge, and I've learned heaps, learned a lot.
For this week's entree, Tu is off to Coromandel, about 2.5 hours from Auckland. He's meeting Vince Siddell, who runs Pacific Marine Farm's oyster farm in Tacoma Bay.
Yeah, watch your feet.
Yeah.
Dude.
Hey Vince, how are you?
Welcome aboard, mate.
Cheers.
So the farms show for about 5 hours around the low tide.
Yep.
So we actually work the low tides. So that's hence why we got an early start today.
Yep.
And we just follow the tide around. So we can only harvest in that time. A few farmers grow them subtidally, which are on long lines like mussels,
Yep.
but they don't produce such a good oyster. We're growing a sexless oyster now,
Yes.
and they don't spawn, so we won't have an off-season as such anymore,
Yep.
which means we'll process and have oysters available right through the year.
So you can actually farm them to be sexless.
Yep. That's what you can manipulate when you're growing them
Yep.
through a hatchery and things like that.
Pacific Marine Farms are owned by Aotearoa Fisheries, New Zealand's largest Māori-owned fishing company.
This farm here was actually one of the first farms in the country. It was done in the late 60s by the Marine Department, and they grew oysters in here and then proved it and then let individuals take up areas. And it's been stick farmed right through, but right now Pacific Marine, we're actually changing from stick farming into bag culture.
Sure.
These oysters here are hatchery bred oysters as compared to the wild catch, which is on these other farms around here.
Yep.
We think they're a better product because you can actually manipulate their growth and what's in them and the characteristics you want to grow out of them. That's the optimum size. Is for the restaurant grade is the smaller ones.
Yep.
So they're very hard. They don't have frills where they'll chip and that. So a week in your chiller and they're as good as they are now.
So what's the best way of opening these things? Because in the past I've always gone through the back part here and try to squeeze my knife through there and pop it open that way.
That's the old rock oyster way. With the native rock oyster is open that way.
Okay.
The Pacifics, they've got a mussel right about there.
Yep.
So we normally go through the side there. You get onto the mussel and just cut it up off the roof.
It just comes off.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
So just on the side?
Yep. if you pick the oyster up, you can see in there.
Yeah, true.
Bit easier.
Oh, there we go. And then you just run your knife down the side here.
Yep. We don't normally cut and turn our oysters. We don't really need to because they're fat enough.
Yeah. Beautiful. Nice and clean, fresh.
Yep. Well, they don't get any fresher.
Beautiful.
It's hard to beat the taste of raw oysters, fresh out of the water and straight from the shell. But Tu's brought along a few other ingredients to add his own twist.
So we tried the oysters natural and they're awesome. So I'm just going to show you a couple of different ways on how to prepare them, just using 3 different sauces.
Yep. No,
Cool.
good.
So we're going to do a beer battered version. So all I've got here is plain flour. Just season it with a bit of salt. And this salt's got kawakoa leaves and karingo, which is the seaweed, New Zealand kelp, and just beer. So just mix the beer in. And then if it's too thick, just add a bit more beer.
So why do you use the beer?
So the beer just helps the batter become nice and light. So when the batter hits the oil, it puffs up and comes out really nice and crisp.
As compared to water.
And it gives a little bit of flavour as well, as
Yeah.
opposed to water. Yeah. And that's about the consistency you're looking for.
Yeah.
Just all nice and thin.
Yep.
So drop your oysters in into the flour. The idea of dredging them in flour is just to help the batter stick and create a coating around the oyster. So just roll them through the flour. Shake off the excess and straight into the batter. Just roll them in the batter, make sure they're fully covered. And when you drop it into the fryer, just make sure you drop it away from you. Oh yeah, she's hot enough. These will only take a minute for most to cook. Just move them around, make sure they don't stick to the bottom. Just make sure you drain them off really well. So we're ready to plate up. So when serving oysters, you just want to make sure that they're sort of fully released from the shell. So the idea is you just drop them straight into your mouth.
Yeah.
Just go in the empty shells. So I've just used the squid ink in the aioli. It's another seafood element to the dish. And also it's a very nice colour as well. Nice jet black, mixed jet black mayonnaise. So these oysters are just finished with a tobiko, which is a flying fish roe. So this is a smoked pork and tamarind chili jam. So it's a take on an Asian chili jam. I hope you like a bit of spice.
Yep.
And that gets finished with the crispy shallots. So these shallots are just thinly sliced and fried off until crisp. It just gives another textural element to the oyster. And then coriander. And then the last one, the last 4 I'm going to do is with a hollandaise. The flavour shouldn't overtake the oysters too much. It should complement them more than overpower. And these get finished with this is the seaweed, it's a karingo and kawakoa salt, toasted karingo and kawakoa, ground kawakoa dried. And there you have it, these are Tekuma Bay oysters, done 3 ways.
Yeah.
Alright, you better try them while they're still good.
Yeah.
Still nice and fresh.
Sounds like a good idea. Thanks a lot.
No worries.
Yeah, a whole lot of different tastes in there, isn't it?
Yeah. You still taste the oyster though. Still
Yep,
get the
yep.
oyster, eh?
It's still reasonably strong.
Go for one of these chili ones.
Yep.
Just watch out, they're spicy.
Yeah, they're really nice. Nice bit of bite.
Yeah, nice bit of bites in there.
Yeah.
You want to go for the last one?
Yep, I'll do the round. They're more just natural, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're nice. Very nice.
Life in the city of Auckland revolves around Waitemata Harbour, which is equally important for commercial shipping and pleasure boats. Downtown Auckland sits next to the Viaduct Basin, a hub of activity, with ferries constantly on the move, restaurants and visiting super yachts. But in years long gone, the basin was home to Auckland's fishing fleet. Only a few boats land their catch there now, and Chef Tu Fearn has popped down from Harbourside Restaurant to meet one of them, the Colinda, skippered by Andy Bergvall.
Hey Andy.
How's it going?
Yeah, good mate.
Hey, not bad yourself.
Good.
Well, you come look some quality fish getting unloaded today, are you?
Awesome. How'd you guys go?
Yeah, not too bad. We've got a few bins on there. So.
The Colinda supplies Aotearoa Fisheries inshore, part of the same large Māori-owned fishing company that owns Pacific Marine Farms.
The reason we longline is to keep our quality up, and also it's sustainable. You know, it's sort of a green way in some ways. We're not throwing back a lot of little fish that are dead or anything like that. And it's sort of a good practice just to keep the quality up, basically. Yeah.
So can you tell me about what you guys have been catching lately?
Yeah, at the moment we're targeting snapper,
Yep.
just sort of around the inner and outer edges of the Gulf. Nice fat fish and healthy, so yeah, it's all good.
Any Porae out there at the moment?
Yeah, we do catch a percentage of Porae, you know, it's not too bad at times. Mainly through the winter months when we're sort of targeting foul areas out in deeper water and that. If it's been, you know, been looked after, slurried properly and looked after, it's bloody beautiful fish, yeah. Our sort of catching practices on the vessel, we make up a combination of saltwater ice and seawater.
Yeah.
And we sort of keep that as cold enough that it's not going to affect it. Like the eyes of the fish freezing, but it's going to chill the fish down as quick as possible. And that sort of maximises the colour of the fish as it's killed. First of all, we icky it, kill it, then it goes into the slurry, so that, you know, it maximises its shelf life. You can end up with a product that you can keep in your fridge. 5 days later, it will still be bloody nice fish. You know? You can basically expect fish that's still wriggling almost.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Choice.
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries.
Tu's back at Harbourside Restaurant to cook this week's main course.
Now I've got a beautiful piece of fish here that has come straight off the boat. Caught in the Hauraki Gulf. You may not have heard of it, but it's called a Porae. It's a rapidly growing fish. Grows up to 28 centimetres in the first year. It's a close relative to the tarakihi. The difference between the two is this has the big lips. First thing you want to look for is the gills. Make sure the gills are nice and bright. Nice bright red colour. Also the eyes, make sure the eyes are nice and clear, poking out, not sunken in and not bloody. And the last thing you want to look for is the flesh, making sure the flesh is nice and firm. I've taken a couple of fillets off the Porae and I've left the skin on so we get it nice and crispy. We're cooking today with the avocado oil, which is nice and buttery, goes really well with fish and has a high smoking temperature, high flash point. A little bit of salt, season both sides, and make sure your pan is really hot. And just go skin side down. And just press the flesh down so that the skin sets in the pan. You want to cook the fish 90% on the skin. Turn it over at the last minute and let it rest. So while the fish is cooking, we'll get started on the salad. Start with the creme fraiche. Probably a spoon of the mayonnaise, and a small amount of paprika. So just mix the paprika through the mayonnaise and creme fraiche, and then we add the fennel and spanner crab. So spanner crab's just been lightly poached in butter. It's got shallots and chives. And the fresh herbs. So the fresh herbs are the fennel tips and fresh chives. Finish that with a bit of salt and give that a mix. So the fish is almost done. So now I'll add the potatoes. So the potatoes are the native potato, they're called winiwinis. And what we do in the restaurant is we boil them and then we smoke them and then chop them up. So they're smoked called winiwini. Just add those in. just add a bit more avocado oil and season those potatoes. Flip the fish over and check the skin. So the fish is pretty much done now. Just want to finish it off on that side, probably another minute or so. So we almost finished the dish, and I'm just going to finish making the dressing, which is a pomegranate molasses. And today I'm going to use the avocado oil, which has lemons, fresh lemons in it. So you want to go 1 part pomegranate molasses, 2 parts avocado oil. Just give that a mix through and finish it with a bit of salt. I've also made a avocado puree, which I've used the avocado oil and fresh avocados, creme fraiche, anchovies and garlic. So now we're ready to plate. So first off you go down with the fish, a couple of your smoked potatoes, and then your salad that you've made earlier, avocado puree. So finish it off with a couple of thinly sliced radish, adds a bit of spice to the dish, pea shoots and your dressing. There you have it, crispy skin porae, fennel crab salad, avocado puree and smoked Coromandel potatoes. There you go.
Lovely.
Enjoy. Thank you.
I love it. Gosh, it's so moist. It's beautiful. And the dressing is just lovely, buttery and rich. It's perfect. It's the most I've ever seen meat. Normally it's like, wow. Eating it outside. Doesn't give you full count.
For this week's dessert, Tu's doing something a bit different. Instead of going to the producer's place, they've sent him the equipment to make the main ingredient himself.
For my dessert today I'm going to be making a coconut, vanilla and yogurt panna cotta using the Easio yogurt. It's very simple to make. To make the yogurt, all you do is you open the packet, empty the packet into one of these containers. For this particular yogurt has coconut bits in it because we're making a coconut panna cotta. That's why I chose this one. And then you just add water up to the first line, which is there. So once you've added the water, just screw the lid on and give it a really good shake. Just remove the lid and then top the water up to just under the lid. Give it another shake. So once it's thoroughly mixed through, just fill this up to the red line with hot boiling water, drop it in, screw the lid back on and leave it at room temperature for 8 to 12 hours to set. This is one I have prepared earlier. I just hung this one overnight in the muslin cloth just to remove any excess water to help thicken it because I need a thick yogurt for the recipe. To make the panna cotta, it's very simple. All we do is we mix the yogurt, which has been thickened overnight, the coconut cream, just add a bit of honey, and we just add the dissolved gelatin leaves. Just whisk that all together. So I'm just going to add some fresh vanilla for a bit of flavour, and the best way to do that is run your knife down the length of the vanilla pod, slice down the centre, and then run your knife down the inside and just scrape that into the bowl. Just give that a good whisk through and break it all up, and it's ready to be set in your mould ready to go in the fridge. This needs to go into the fridge for a minimum of 4 hours, but best chilled overnight to fully set. So this is one I've prepared earlier. You can see how it's set. It's nice and set. It's quite firm, but still nice and soft. I've prepared a few garnishes here. So this is the coconut tapioca with kaffir lime leaf and palm sugar, peanut praline, and poached rhubarb. And this is a apple gel. So to assemble the dish, we start with an apple gel. Just a couple of blobs. Then the coconut tapioca. Poached rhubarb and the praline. So just to finish the dish, we add a bit more honey on top. And then the edible flowers. And there we have it. Go. So this is a coconut yogurt and vanilla panna cotta. On top you've got a apple gel, kaffir lime leaf and palm sugar tapioca, poached rhubarb and peanut praline. Enjoy.
Oh, that's deeper than I thought. I love the praline. That coconut yogurt is good. It really is good. It's healthy coconut yogurt. What do you think?
Yeah, everything. I like the rhubarb.
I used to make